Hey there humans, Bob here with another Marvel Avengers video, and today we're going to be talking about the massive buffs coming to some of the heroes in the game and what the latest patch notes actually mean, because some of those buffs might not mean what you think they mean, so stick around to find out more. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe as we roll that intro. So, Marvel's Avengers recently dropped the patch notes for the upcoming 2.6 update, and alongside the release date, which is the 20th of September, they also detailed a myriad of buffs coming to the hero roster. In fact, every single hero got at least one buff. Even better, there were no nerfs. Now, I'm not going to go through and read every single buff. Rather than that, I'm going to highlight the ones that I think are the most noteworthy and the most needed. On top of that, I'm going to do my best to explain what these percentage increases actually mean, since I'm already seeing people misunderstand those numbers. So, let's dive in. Number 1, Hulkbuster now retains the skills and perks from Iron Man regardless of who is the pilot. This is a really cool addition, especially for me, as I have my Hulkbuster really well tuned and I can't wait for my teammates to get the chance to take it for a test run. Number 2, Hulk's Rage intrinsic ability now deals gamma damage. This one is bananas. Hulk can already output an absurd amount of damage, but the implications of having gamma intrinsically could be mind-blowing, especially considering how easy it'll now be to apply battery damage with rage attacks. Number 3, Hulk's heroics now scale off of Valor and Might. And I don't know about you, but since my Hulk is an absolute heroic machine, build video in the description by the way, this is super exciting. I can't wait to see how far we can take this. Number 4, the increased duration of Odin's Force Overcharge from 3 to 10 seconds is great, as it will finally bring his overcharge in line with the rest of the roster. Number 5, Thor's God Blast now additionally scales with precision. Since a large amount of Thor builds already focus on precision and valor, this buff is likely to affect a lot of players in a really positive way. Number 6, the increased duration of Shadow Ops Overcharge from 3 seconds to 10 seconds is really going to help players who want to take advantage of some powerful perks that stem off of this buff. Number 7, somehow the team felt that Widow's Bite wasn't powerful enough, so I'm excited to see what the array of buffs on this heroic do to Widow's single target DPS. She's already able to delete bosses. I can't wait to see what she can do now. On to number 8 now, and the 450% increased damage to Black Panther's King's Mercy looks to finally make his assault heroic feel like an assault on the enemy, not a friendly suggestion to take a deep breath and count to 10, which I'm a big fan of. This in fact might even help me with one of my upcoming builds. Number 9, although it pains me to say this, the buffs to the Adore 1 summons could truly give T'Challa the ability to take a summon role, which doesn't really exist in the game unless you count the Hunter's Arrow or James Mjolnir. This is exciting as it could provide a new layer and possibly even meta to his gameplay. Number 10, Cap's Steamroller Heroic is finally getting a buff. Hopefully now it feels like he's throwing a shield made of vibranium and not paper mache. This 240% buff looks tasty and I can't wait to try it out. Number 11, rather than a highlight here, an interesting omission from any real buffs to Hawkeye likely means that the team already thinks his heroics are the standard they wish all heroes to meet. If that's the case, these buffs are going to be very exciting, especially at endgame, because I've seen what he can do with a good build. Number 12, rather than address all of Kate's buffs, a key theme here that is very interesting to me is that her heroics now scale with might additionally. Whilst I'm not unhappy with the majority of these buffs, this seems strange to me considering most players focus on her with precision. Maybe this is an effort to push players towards her quantum-focused melee attacks rather than the bow attacks, as they create a greater distinction between her and Hawkeye. Number 13, honestly, I've got very little to say about Jane's buffs other than I seriously did not expect her to receive any significant buffs. She is going to be an absolute titan on the battlefield, and I can't wait to see it. Number 14 now, and I'm really glad to see Kamala finally get some high 5 buffs, but I was realistically hoping for a no stagger whilst in Big and buff, as it's sorely needed to help her feel as strong as she did in the final part of Reassemble. Number 15, finally onto Spidey, and I honestly cannot wait to see his heroics hit harder. I'm hoping in particular that the Wrecking Ball attack damage increase also applies to the buff that Spidey gets after activation, and not just the impact of the Wrecking Ball itself. Now we've covered my highlights from the patch notes, onto how these buffs might actually work. At the point of recording, I've reached out to the dev team multiple times about how the maths here works, and sadly, I've had no official response, which is a shame as we're again left in the dark when it comes to clear communication about how things work in Avengers. Since I've not had a response, I'm going to go over the potential scenarios of how this might work based on the information provided. I'm going to use a rudimentary example here, but let's look at the increased Widow's Bite attack damage by 70%. If this attack originally did, let's say for the sake of argument, exactly 100k damage, if that was the case, this additional buff of 70% would allow this attack to output 170k damage. That's pretty cool, right? If that's the case and these buffs are truly additive, then I can't wait to see them all in game. But for those of you who were around when the champion system launched, you may be aware of how the combat buffs there are calculated. For example, the 3% increase to heroic damage is multiplicative and works something more like this. Let's use the 100k Widow Bite damage example here again. If you calculate it using an additive percentage with a 3% increase, you would receive a boost of 3k damage, totaling to 103k damage. Not a huge boost, but decent enough. Unfortunately though, the champion levels don't work like that. They work off a starting percentage that's something more like 1000%. So increasing that by 3% would mean you still get a boost, but instead of 3k extra damage, it's more like 300 extra, which I'm sure we can all agree is pretty much negligible. Now, there's a couple of things to note here. Number one is that I personally believe that we will actually be receiving the 70% increase here, which genuinely will give some really strong boosts to the characters. But the concern here, again, is the lack of clarification, and I wanted to make this video to make sure people are managing their expectations correctly. Another thing to note is that whilst we are seeing some huge percentage numbers in the patch notes, please remember that the percentages are relative to the outputs already in game. For example, the 1900% boost to Hulk's irradiated destruction hazard status damage is not likely to be a huge buff, but just makes it noticeable. In the same breath though, increased Thunderclap attack damage by 85% could see the return of one-shotting bosses again. Only time will tell. Either way, if you're looking to take advantage of these buffs, however big or small they are, make sure to check out my Prime builds along with the other videos on the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, stay safe, stay awesome, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.